Hey you all, welcome back to the Three Rings, and today we are going to be talking about communities and gardens and just the ability as a community to come together and free ourselves from the system that is currently not serving us. And I brought my partner Mason in to talk with me about it, so let's jump into it. So we wanted to start with talking about the importance of knowing the people in your community. I think we are very isolationist sometimes as a culture because we've been sold this idea of like the nuclear family, you know, get away from your parents, have your own house. And while there is a benefit to that, if you have toxic parents, I think we have also lost the ability to have a tribe around us when we might be in need or might need help. And also just the challenge of knowing the people that live next to you. I'm sure most of them will be nice, but every once in a while there's a chance that, oh, that could be a crazy person. But I think we need to get over that fear and come together so that we can really unite around common causes and community issues instead of all just huddling in our own houses or apartments.
Yeah, and I definitely understand when you're trying to get away from family that is very toxic or, you know, friends or, you know, maybe you already had a community that was, you know, not beneficial to growing or just for your health of any kind. And so I think it's important to realize how beneficial having like a positive community. And it doesn't even have to be your family, even though it's really nice if it is and you have a family that supports you. But one thing, especially in the LGBTQIA community, is you find your own family and you find your own community. And it doesn't have to be just in that group. I think everyone in general, like if you move away and you're like on your own, just not being afraid of, you know, making connections and talking to those around you, because I think especially in movies and shows and your news, it really felicitates like, don't talk to that person on the street, don't say hi, because someone will try to rob you or kill you, or you might be talking to a serial killer or someone wants to hurt you, which is something I still have to get over from being very femme presenting and, you know, just living in a bigger city than what I came from. So I think just finding our friends and people who, you know, support us but aren't afraid to be honest with us has been such a big game changer just for my life and my health overall. And I think that's something that everyone should like strive for and like try to find.
No, 100%. I think what you're saying with like having a community that challenges you, especially like with a close group of friends and building that like just chosen family, is really important because it forces you to grow, but in a good way, because you know the people that are there for you care for you. And so it's like not as bad as some random person being like, oh hey, you need to improve on this. And really I feel like your friends don't tell you need to improve on something, but they really just are there for you through your entire process of growing. And I think your good habits and good ideas and good personality traits rub off on each other when you are in a good community. Now, obviously, like you're saying, a bad community or a bad family that you were raised in, that's something you want to get away from. But I think if our communities and towns and neighborhoods knew, so just coming together as a neighborhood community and not being scared, I think you can find like your core group of people in your neighborhood or your friends from, you know, surrounding neighborhoods or wherever your friends are from, to impact those people around you as well, because while you might not have as deep connections with your neighbor as you do with your best friend or with the guy on the street, at least going to your grocery store and knowing the cashier's name, or, you know, going down the street to your favorite, you know, restaurant and knowing a few of the servers' names, just knowing the people around you and having that sense of community, I think can give you a sense of safety, but it also can give you a sense of support, especially if something scary does happen. I remember reaching out to one of our, oh my goodness, I was gonna say tenants, but it's not right. I remember reaching out to one of our fellow people that live a few, like, rows down after something kind of scary had happened to me, and they're like, hey, whenever you need something, let me know, like, we have to be here for each other. And that was really, really cool to see and hear, because like, while my connection with them isn't deep, you know, we live in the same apartment building, but knowing that I could call on that person and be like, hey, could you help me out with this? Or, hey, could you look at the security footage? Because, like, they manage some of the footage for the property. It was really cool to know that someone else is there. And I think most people are like that. I think, you know, when you get to know your neighbors and the people in your town around you, it really makes the place, I think, less threatening. And I think you, with your friends and your community and your neighbors, can make the maybe more rough areas of your neighborhood better by coming together, you know, because all people at the end of the day, whether it's people intending to do harm or not, just want to be loved. And, you know, we're struggling in a very capitalist and greedy society that I think makes the people who are suffering the most also have to act in greed and desperation. So if we can come together and really just bring our thoughts together, bring our hearts together, and support each other, I think we'd be much less afraid of each other, if that makes sense. And I think it does.
No, 100%. And I genuinely believe people want to make connections. People want to feel good about themselves when they reach out to people. And people, from what I've, you know, encountered around like our city, people want to say hi. People want to talk to you. People want to, you know, like reach out and possibly make connections. And even though there's some people that, you know, might need to do certain things or, you know, do bad things or do things just out of necessity, like you're saying. I think genuinely everyone wants to find a group or community, because that's kind of, you know, because we're still animals. Like, we're still, like, humans are animals, and we want to be connected to other people. We want to know that we're supported.
Well, we're pack animals in essence, right? We need that pack, that tribe, to feel safe and feel connected. And I think society, especially in America, has pushed individualism so much. And again, individualism can be good, but when it's pushed to the point of like, oh, I don't need anyone, all my success is on myself, you know, yes, I do believe in radical accountability of being like, hey, I need to take care of this, I need to fix my problems. But you have to realize that you're not going to be able to get through life without the help of others. And making sure you have those connections and those people that you know is so important. You know, I was lucky enough to have a good family and grow up where I have that support system. If I needed to go back to it, if something, you know, horrible happened, I ran out of money, I could, you know, lean on that. The same with some other people in my life as well. Not everyone has that. Sometimes that's not by choice, and sometimes it is. Some people do burn their bridges and do that. But if we were really, I think, taught, especially in school and maybe just in community, like classes or something, to value friendships and communities more, I think we'd have that problem a lot less. And I think you would see a lot more people, you know, taking in someone's kid when something's bad's happening, you know, maybe to those parents that are having a rough time, or some neighbors running out of money or is low on food. You would see your other neighbors making them food and other stuff. While I was in like the church, we saw a lot of this. Now the church, for me, obviously, I think Christianity and the church, there's a lot of negativity there. But one thing that those third spaces kind of do, like churches, is they can really come together to help someone in need. Like my friend Matthew had a hiking accident, and a lot of his church members ended up making him food or going shopping for him. And you do kind of see that rallying around in those more tight-knit groups that are outside of your like main friend groups. It's just, I think religion has really co-opted the church to also be very dangerous politically. So I wish there was a new way, and that's what me and like Mason are trying to work on, is creating something new, a new space for people to come together without any religious affiliation, but really just with love and a want to make the world a better place.
Yeah, so like a community center where it doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, what you look like. It's a place that everyone can come and just feel safe, feel relaxed. You know, either you want to learn something or hang out or just talk to people or make new friends and make new connections. I think that's something we really want to strive for, because even though there's some situations and like reaching out to people is scary, at the end of the day, just I think what we would want to accomplish, what we would want to see, are centers like that where people can come like for free, or like, well, like donations just for like maintaining the business, but just go there and like meet up with friends, make new friends, and, you know, share stuff, trade,
Yeah.
Share information, because I think that's what it's all about, just learning from people, because I think people generally want to learn something from experiences with other people. And like you were saying about community, even though, my family's not perfect, no family's perfect, no one's perfect. I genuinely believe that even if something bad happened to me, or if something happened, my family, my parents would help me 100%. My sisters, everyone would drop everything, because my dad, one of the things I really love about what he taught us is, family first.
Yeah.
My dad was a really big family person, and when my older sister had my nephews, we were just constantly together. Even when we lived apart, we would constantly like make trips, make plans to hang out or like stay for like a week, especially during quarantine and COVID when it was really hit. That's when we were just all together 24/7. And it was really like you were saying, like I felt like we were a tribe and we all were taking care of my nephews together, and we're all like, even though I'm not, their parents, it really felt like I was a part of raising them, because it was like they were a big part of my life and I was a big part of theirs, because I would see them every day, every morning, every night before we went to bed. And being a part of that just is really what I love. And I feel like coming to LA and moving to the city that we did, or the valley, and making our friends, when we're all together, I really feel that connection between us.
100%.
And we can vent, we can have fun, we can be serious, and we can be honest with each other, and I just genuinely feel loved unconditionally.
No, and it's really a cool and beautiful thing. I think it's such a privilege to have when you do have a family that is there to support you, and like it's such a blessing. Mm-hmm. And I think with making your own family, like Mason was saying, and it's something I learned when I lived back with my brother-in-law and sister, it's kind of like in Fast and Furious, which I love, like even though they're really like family. No, it really is. It's the family that you create, and those people that might not be your blood will be the closest people you could ever have in your life, that will literally do anything for you, sometimes more than your blood family would, and if you have both a great made family and blood family, oh my goodness, awesome. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. Likewise with my family, like a lot of good, but hey, humans are humans. My parents made mistakes as well, so it's like, that's just life. But if you can find that group of people, it's really important. And I think we really need to focus on that more.
Yes.
So we're going to circle back around to the idea of community gardens and community spaces. This is something me and Mace want to do. They have such a love for plants, as do I. We have a lot of plants in the background. We're building our own patio garden with produce, and we're studying real estate right now so that we can learn to obviously sell so we can make some more money than we are at the moment, but also buy real estate in the future to turn into these community centers and really just understand the city planning, and all the people we need to know to make the city a better place for all people, not just the super wealthy, but for the people who need it, affordable housing, green spaces, and community education,
Yes. So, kind of the environment that I was talking about that community centers could create is something that I also think community gardens can create as well. And it would some community gardens would also be those community centers. Yes. Yeah. And so I think just learning how to be sustainable, like self-sustainable, and also like if you know knowledge about plants or you grow your own plants, you could trade with your neighbors. You could really get connected with community and share your knowledge and receive information from other people. And I think that would just growing with people and growing with other people, I think is just what we really need and what I would really love to see.
No, I think the idea around these community gardens also would give us a sense of independence as a community. Obviously, our world is crazy. We're connected to so many things at once as nations, as people with the internet. And, you know, when food supplies get affected, it can affect the fluidity, or not the fluidity, it can affect your paycheck. Yeah. You know, so being able to grow your own food, even if it's on your patio or your backyard, depending on what kind of property you have, I think is such a cool skill set. And we would love to be able to teach that and also grow out our community centers and give some of that food away for free, maybe sell some of it to obviously upkeep the centers. And also have books and knowledge. I'm big on reading and audiobooks and physical books because I think books, history, and having deep and important conversations, especially with marginalized communities, lets you grow a lot of empathy. When you talk to people that are different than you from different cultures, different race, different religion, it's gonna really, I think, broaden your view and give you so much more empathy that you may not have had before. Yeah. Because what people, I think, lack, and it's a lot of just politicizing and polarizing, is we have a lot of lack of empathy. And it's sometimes even hard for me. Like, I'm obviously a leftist. I want some big sweeping changes for our economy, for the people, and for workers' rights, for people's rights. And I just want a more equal world for everyone. But I also think people on the far right want the same thing. It's just in a way that we do not understand. And, you know, I have been conservative before, so I know how they think somewhat as well. So it's like having that empathy of trying to understand, yes, you do have those crazy, hateful people out there that it is hard to change their mind. And that is scary. But I think a majority of people just want a better world for their families. And they think the way that they're going to do it is better than the way that maybe I want to do it. And I think we just need to be better at finding common ground, which community spaces, free access to knowledge, classes, and all of these things that hopefully our community centers would bring in the future would be like such a cool thing to facilitate, and is really what we want to do. Because again, like, I mean, it's all we're talking about in this video is it's all about community. It's all about sustaining yourself as a community, almost having little villages within the big village of living in this massive city that is Los Angeles, right? And it's important. Again, it really lets you connect with the people around you and grow in empathy. And having that supply of gardens and food, I think, gives you more freedom.
And like what you were saying about like all these little villages in this one big village that is the city, I think it's really cool to think about how, you know, when everyone makes their little villages, that they're gonna mix. There's gonna be information and, you know, people like talking to someone, or people like making friends with someone in their group. And I think it's just kind of, in my mind, what I'm picturing is like a big network of like a big brain. And I think that's kind of what we are together, because what I believe is that we are just truly like one person, one being, living all these different experiences. Because we all, whenever I was little, still now, whenever I would walk past people, I would just imagine that everyone has their own story, their own storybook. And I'm walking past all these people and I'm like, wow, like, I don't know what they've been through. They have their own storyline. Like, they have their own struggles. They have their own successes.
Their own quest.
And just, like, realizing that, I was like, wow, I would love to just get to know, you know, those stories. Because, like, there's just, like, endless stories, endless perspectives. And some people, I will not relate to anything they've been through. You know, because we all go through our similar but different situations. But then, like, I think TikTok, so just the community of TikTok, and a little bit less of like the entertainment side where it's a little addicting. But when I first joined TikTok, that's when I think it's funny to say, like, my spiritual journey began, because everyone was kind of validating like similar experiences that I've been through that I thought were solely my struggles, or solely things that I thought made me crazy, or like not like different. I think that's something, like, I feel like we kind of go through similar experiences. And I just realized, like, I have no original thought. Like, people
have been through the same thing.
Through the same thing, and I think that's really important to find out, like, because you're like, wow, or if you make a mistake at work, or if you, like, you know, just make a mistake in life and you just really feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, or like, you know, you are the biggest mess up in history, but then you hear a similar story online or from a story someone tells you, and you're like, oh wow, like, I didn't know anyone else understood that feeling.
And then they do.
And it's just, I think at the end of the day, just feeling validated and that, like, you're not alone is huge.
No, it's huge. And I think online communities, and that's what's one really positive thing about, like, TikTok and just online communities in general, whether it's gaming, you know, Facebook, not so much for me at least, but maybe for older generations. You know, it's places where you can connect with people. And it's places where you can connect with people outside of the village or city that you're in, right? And that's really important too, because you're connecting with people all around the world, and that can give you such, again, another sense of empathy and new connections, new stories. And what I love about TikTok, like you were saying, is like, oh, there's literally, especially during COVID, like, my TikTok feed started as dancing, and then the algorithm's really good on there. It's like, it still has funny stuff, but like, once I started researching more stuff on just new ideas and new political structures like socialism and communism, I got a fair amount of really good educational videos that made me think about different things. And that was really, really cool. And obviously you have to be careful with these algorithms, because YouTube kind of does the same thing, as where if you look up one thing, it starts feeding you more of it, where you can get caught into a literal hole of the same content, which can skew your views 100% for both sides of the political spectrum. So you have to be balanced and independent in your thinking. But I think we need to trust people more to be independent in their thinking and balanced, because, you know, we've seen like laws in Florida with Ron DeSantis trying to push book bans and get rid of AP Black History classes and literally erase the real history of America, that really bloody and horrible history that we built this nation on. He's trying to erase that because he doesn't want little white kids to feel bad, which I'm sure they don't feel bad. Again, I think it's their parents that are dealing with their own issues. You know, getting rid of that is wrong. And being able to have access, I think, to knowledge and books and gain that empathy, and TikTok and all those spaces gives us so much more perspective, which is important. So when that's getting attacked, I think it's very scary, because spaces like TikTok, your history classes, your books, it gives you the ability to open your mind a lot, in my opinion.
I think it's really scary that, I mean, just like them, they're kind of like a community as well, but it's really scary, because even though I'm also like liberal and I just, you know, want people to have human rights, basic human rights,
human rights, healthcare, education, which shouldn't be controversial, but some reason it is. I don't know why. Why is it controversial, guys? Like, it would benefit the people who are against it. Like, they would be getting the free education. They would be getting the free healthcare. And you're like, well, who's going to pay for it? We have $1 trillion military budget. I'm sure we can cut off a little bit off the top. Make it an $800 billion, military budget. It's $200 billion now going towards education or healthcare or the homeless crisis. Like, so many better ways to spend our money.
Yeah, and we pay taxes
a lot
already. So wouldn't you want your taxes to go to if you broke your leg or if you got sick and you didn't have to worry about it? Like, one less thing you have to worry about, like bills. And I was gonna mention, like, on that side, it's really scary because, like, the hypocrisy kind of
bleeds through.
People saying, like, well, the government's taking my freedom away, but it's like, then you're over here
trying to take my
freedom away to learn about whatever. And it's talking about kids, but I also think kids should be free to learn about, you know, stuff that they're interested in.
Learn about whatever they want. Like, it's a free country. Like, and these far right groups like Moms of Liberty or people like Ron DeSantis are literally saying, oh, hey, it's a free country, but you can't read this or you can't teach this. Well, then that's not true freedom. They want to teach their version of freedom, their indoctrination of it, because it's what benefits them and their ideologies. And obviously with Ron DeSantis, he's trying to please a voter base for the 2024 elections. He's very much getting ready to run for president. which is also just terrifying. So, basically using these things like book bans and trying to literally gain authoritarian power in Florida is all a power grab for him to get a certain base of people to vote for him. But while he's doing that, he's really, I think, affecting the system in a bad way. And it's plain bad and evil, in my opinion. I don't think too many things are evil, but to suppress knowledge, which again leads us to empathy, is a really dangerous thing, because you're closing people's minds off so you can control them. And that's oddness. Like, that's really what I think people who are corrupt in government power or even billionaires want to do. They want a consumer base, a voter base that they can control, and keep in fear and keep them just afraid, so that they will vote for them, because it's like, oh, hey, you need to be afraid of your neighbor. You need to be afraid of the person who looks different than you. You need to be afraid of this, this, and this. And if you vote for me, I will keep you safe.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what these far-right extremists are doing. And even the left, I'm sure, does it somewhat as well, because they're probably also pushing the ideology. Like, you need to be afraid of the far-right people that are trying to take your freedom away. So you have to find the balance so you don't end up hating people too much, because that's dangerous. But you also need to know that, hey, I'm spotting authoritarianism and fascism in the country I was born and raised in. I need to do something about it. And if we don't, we could be in a future that is not very free for a lot of us. It might be free for Republican white evangelicals, but it might not be free for my neighbors. It might not be free for the people in my life. It might not be free for indigenous people or people in the Black community or the Jewish community. We need to really protect all communities, because all communities are valuable.
Yeah.
And at least from the far right, side of things, their community that they think is valuable is just themselves. And that's where I think negative communities can come into effect, is you can have religious cults or extremist groups that can also do equal bad effects that a good community could do in positive effects.
Yeah. No, kind of bringing it back to what you said earlier about, like, we all want the same thing at the end of the day. We want to be safe. We want a government that feels like it's for us, like for the people. And I think, stuff like that going on with Ron DeSantis and, them pushing the narrative that we're like, or not we, but like that liberals, that liberals are bad and they're trying to indoctrinate your kids. And I think there are extremists on both sides.
100%.
And I, it's hard, but like, it's hard not to get angry, because I think the media 100%, like, and the government wants you to hate the other party, to hate the other person that has a different, opinion as you. And I think, we are kind of taught, like, oh, if someone doesn't agree with you, like, cut them out, block them, don't talk to them ever again. If they said you're wrong, you're not wrong, you're right. And I think finding a common goal for all of us to meet in the middle is what I really want to see. And I just want us to look past, this barrier of, like, a political party of, like, because, like, at the end of the day, we all, want the same thing.
And we're all human. We all bleed the same blood. Like, there really isn't that much difference between all of us. But there's so many boxes, positive and negative boxes, that we all put each other in. But it's just sad that some people will want to kill you because of that box that you either identify with or were born into. And it's like, it's good to share opinions, but I think some people are getting opinions where their opinion is a threat to your life. And those are the people you need to worry about. But I think there is a rising amount of those people, or at least it seems so. That could be a push by media to get us all riled up for elections and stuff. But I do think there is a group. It might be a small minority on each side, but still, it's probably a few million people that are like, no, the world would be better with or without these people. It's like, oh, no, like, we all need to be here thriving together. We don't need to, kill people. And I think there is that rhetoric, especially on the far right, where it's like, well, hey, if we don't get our way, we're going to do something. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? And that's, again, it's a thing we need to avoid. We've seen it play out in history before with other nations, back in the 1930s and 40s with Germany. It wasn't good. It nearly destroyed the world, and 5 million people in the Jewish community died because one dude thought that they were less than. And we need to value people as equal.
Yeah.
Just all of us are equal. Whether you're Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, or you're the guy or girl or person who is struggling to pay rent or get housed, you know, we're all equal at the same. At the end of the day, we all eat food, we all go to bed, we all shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much of a difference. And I think people need to realize that.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, it's crazy that even though like those people who want to, you know, or feel like they have to hurt other people, you know, to make this world better, to make America great again or whatever.
Yeah.
They want the same, literally, but they, at the end of the day, want to feel safe. They want to have community.
They do. Yeah.
But it is in the wrong way if you want to hurt people, or if you want, you know, a group of people who, you know, you don't believe should, you know, live their own life the way they want it because it disagrees with your points of views that you were taught or that you learned or that you believe.
Well, and their issue is like their communities are built around hateful ideologies, where I feel like in the LGBTQIA community, our ideologies aren't built around hate.
No.
You know, people in our community aren't going around shooting up schools or churches. No. We aren't being violent. You know, we're just trying to love who we want to love.
And everyone.
And just everyone. We're trying to love everyone. And we're not trying to indoctrinate or do anything bad. And there's going to always be, I think, bad people in any group, right? So you might have a serial killer who is in our community. You might have a person who's racist in the LGBTQAI community. But when you look at the community as a whole, is it committing the atrocities that the white extremist community is committing? Is it, you know, literally killing people?
Yeah.
No. And it just is really sad that there's so much hate on that side. And again, I want to look at their community with empathy too, because I know not all of them are that way, but there's so much indoctrination that we're right, you're wrong. You know, you need to be pure, you need to be of God, you need to be a certain way. And it's like, but I'm not trying to do that to you. I'm just trying to live my life. Why is my life a threat to your existence?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to live. And it's just, you know, it's something I think we need to move past, and we really need to have deep conversations with those people. We need to have a heart-to-heart as an entire nation of being like, hey, we need to move past this, because the real thing that is messing us up is the people who are manipulating us to take more of your money, take more of your freedom away, and are really just trying to become richer and wealthier while we continue to get poorer, right? The common goal I think we unite behind is really taking more power back for the community, for individuals, and getting behind leaders that actually represent us. And I think we can create that world. I think it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of love and a lot of empathy. But I think it's doable. But sometimes it's hard to stay positive, and that's like why I've been doing this whole Three Rings thing, where I do research the dark side of things, where it's like, oh damn, this is hard. Like, this is scary, there are bad things happening. But we also have to focus on the ability that we can have those groups of friends, we can have those communities that we can feel safe in. And hopefully we can spread that love from our community to all communities, and show the communities that might even hate us that, hey, we love you in spite of. Now, obviously, if people are going to really hurt your community, you do need to protect your community and stand up for it. And that is very important. But we need to have open dialogues with the people we disagree with, I think, in a big way. And I think that's why it's important to talk with your family about religion and politics, because for the most part, I don't think your family's going to kill you for your political views. And I don't think a lot of people will. But I do think people are definitely feeling braver to assault you verbally and maybe physically if you think different than them. If you're carrying a different sign on a picket fence in a protest, they are willing to hurt you sometimes. And it's sad that we've gotten to that point. I think we can reverse it. I think we are evolved enough as a species, you would think, to get past this. But I do understand what anger can do to people, what fear can do to people, and we're really just being manipulated by a bunch of fear, perpetuated by very powerful people and from old traditions and groups that were very negative and did horrible things to other people. So we just need to get away from that, evolve past it, and, you know, that's easier said than done, and again, it's going to take time.
So I think like ending that cycle of, you know, while all this bad stuff is going on, you know, in society and like these states in the world, while all these terrible things are going on, the people who are in charge of cleaning that up, or I mean, throughout history, you like bad things are gonna happen regardless. You know, Earth is unpredictable. Time is unpredictable. But through all these really horrible things, you know, instead of helping each other come back up, more hate is pushed towards either side, and you know, we're still dealing with the same problems we've always had. And like we advance as a society, we get more technology.
Yeah, we have more technology, more ways to connect.
But I feel like even though we have, you know, the media and all these different forms of communication, there's still not enough communication between people.
We can communicate so much, but we're communicating, I think, all the wrong things, or not the wrong things, but we're just communicating all the negatives instead of maybe the positives. Because I think the book I'm reading on the history of like the Aztecs and stuff, the reason the conquistadors won a lot of land, and it was not just because of their technological advancement, but they ended up getting other tribes who they were also attacking to kind of work with them to throw over. I think it was the Mexica, which were the main people. I may be getting that wrong, but they were like the main Aztec group in power. And these other tribes weren't as happy with them. So it was like there was already dissent and political rivalry within that group, and then someone like Hernando Cortez, who was an awful person and did awful things, took advantage of that. And we're still dealing with the same problem now. You have big people on political sides, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, coming in and poking at ideas that I think are dangerous, that have maybe been not as mainstream as they were before, or at least they were hidden and not as accepted, where it's like, hey, no, you shouldn't be trying to ban books. Hey, you shouldn't be a white supremacist. And they have now said, hey, it's okay to be that way. And that's dangerous, because there was a group of people that knew it wasn't okay to be that way, but they stayed underground about it because they're like, hey, you know, I'll probably get called out for it. But now they had really big figures, famous people like Donald Trump and now Ron DeSantis saying, hey, and Kanye, it's saying, hey, it's okay to be hateful. You can be hateful towards a group of people. No, it's okay, because I am. And that's very, very dangerous. When that rhetoric continually gets pushed, and Fox News has been pushing the same rhetoric against like the LGBTQA community, right? And that's what's led to, again, these shootings. Like, people are like, oh, well, you know, it's not direct, but it's indirect influence. When you continually hear the news programs you're listening to, or the influencers you're listening to saying, hey, gay people are dangerous. Gay people are dangerous. Queer people are dangerous. You need to, you know, beware. They're trying to indoctrinate your kids. Well, guess what? Someone out there is going to do something at some point when you keep pushing that narrative. And, you know, we need to hold these news networks and these people accountable that are perpetuating very dangerous narratives about communities and about just people. And it's dangerous because it can lead to violence. And again, I feel like these political leaders and some of these networks are less afraid to say very, very igniting terms and things to cause issues, and to potentially use those issues as a power grab to take more power for themselves and more money. And again, that's why, kind of circling back to the beginning and to wrap this up here soon, is we need to have a strong community together that is starting with your friend group, like our friend group that we're really, I feel like, growing and just having an amazing time with and learning. And then growing it out from there, you know, getting to know your neighbor. Maybe starting something online like we're doing right now with the 3 Rings, right? Get to know your online community as well, but have a positive effect. You know, try not to be a toxic community. Every community is going to have its issues. You can't avoid that. We're all human. But I think you can really just continually expand positive, starting with yourself, starting with your family, with the people around you, your chosen family, your neighborhood, your city, and organizing. We have to organize. We have to speak out against the hate that's happening to marginalized communities. And we have to build better spaces, green spaces, educational spaces, online and in person, for the people around us.
Yeah, and just starting with love and support and honesty is, I think, how we're going to create those. And just, you know, building those groups from those. So instead of, well, we hate that guy, so he can't be in our group, or we hate this person, so we have to hurt them
Yeah.
or anything. It's like, hey, I love you. I understand where you're coming from. Like, let's talk this out.
Yeah.
Let's get on the same page and really, like, figure out what we want society to be. Because yeah.
We need to do that. We need to figure out what we can do together, and we need to just walk in each other's shoes a little more often. And again, I'm saying this from a perspective of the wanting. I'm saying this from a perspective of the world I want to bring, and I'm trying to practice these things as well.
Yes.
Am I perfect? Is Mason perfect? No. But we are trying our best to be as loving as we can, as understanding as we can. And, I think we can backtrack on all the hate. I think we can really, not backtrack on opening our minds and learning new things. We need to learn new things about our communities and about communities we don't understand. But we can really, I think we could get rid of this hate and have a lot more empathy if we just took a little more time to have conversations. And some of those conversations might be inflammatory, but most of the conversations I've had with level-headed people aren't too bad. Are some of them intense? Is a little like I don't know the emotion, but is a little like, oh damn, like I have to think of something. I feel like I'm kind of being slightly attacked, but not really.
Yeah.
Yes, that happens, right? But you can, I think, generally have those conversations for the most part, and just remember that some people might attack you with all the logic of being like, well, it's logical to run things this way, but is it empathetic to run it this way? Yes, logic can maybe make you a ton of money, but is that logic going to put other humans at risk?
Yeah,
right?
like who's it gonna hurt?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, is your logic gonna, marginalize another group or hurt another group while it benefits you? I don't think the logical argument should always win if it's lacking empathy for the people around it.
Yeah, there needs to be a balance. 100%.
There needs to be a balance, but then we also have to have our facts lined up. We have to have our stuff. So that's why, again, education, super important. We got to educate ourselves. We got to love ourselves. We got to love others. And ultimately, at the end of the day, love each other.
Because if you start from love, like, what can go wrong?
What can go wrong? Love's this universal thing that's crazy, and for the most part is good. Love makes you do crazy things, but I think it can make you do crazy good things for a lot of people. And I think we can end wars with love. You can start wars with love, but I think a lot more good comes from love. It's this amazing
100%.
energy and emotion that we all get to partake in, and we all have inside of us.
And that we all want at the end of the day.
And that we all want at the end of the day. Everyone wants to be loved, and while it might seem kind of hippie and all of that, but it's true. It's really the most important thing. So we're gonna wrap this one up. It was amazing having my beautiful partner.
I know, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Really thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know you had to fly over here from Miami. It's not like we both live together. What?
No, definitely not. This isn't our bed.
No, this isn't our plans in the background.
No,
not at all. But yeah, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. And thank you guys for watching. We want to do more videos together, and we really want to build a community here. So let us know what you want to see in the comments below when it comes to more political topics, more positive topics, the more ideas that I can generate and come up with your help would be amazing. And I